We'd like to make sense of the directive of the Central Bank of Nigeria, especially its implications on the Nigerian economy. So tonight, we have a former deputy governor of the Central Bank, a lawyer, a political economist, and he was a presidential candidate in the 2019 presidential election. He's currently United Nations Special Envoy on post-COVID development finance for Africa. Professor Kingsley Moghalu joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Professor, for joining us tonight on the program. And perhaps let's get a sense of your reaction when you heard. And I'm very sure that being a financial expert yourself, you may have some money in Bitcoin or in cryptocurrency too. But how did this come to you when you heard on Friday that the CBN is restricting Nigerian banks from having this kind of transactions?
First of all, let me disabuse your mind. I have no investments in cryptocurrencies of any type. So let's just get that out of the way. But when I saw news of this directive, I was a bit concerned, but I was not surprised. I was not surprised because you have to, first of all, understand that there are many dimensions to the whole question of cryptocurrency. There are financial stability issues and concerns. There is the question of whether or not it is legal tender in Nigeria, because it is not. The central bank put out that regulation in 2017. And now they put out a new directive basically banning all deposit money banks from transacting in cryptocurrencies. But the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria, SEC, recognizes cryptocurrencies as a financial asset. And in September, they said they were going to put out a regulatory framework for them. And we know that Bitcoin and other kinds of cryptocurrencies have now become known as, quote unquote, freedom money. Because we have to go back to understand what cryptocurrencies actually are. Cryptocurrencies are virtual currencies that can be exchanged online to purchase goods and services. Their value is not determined by the value of legal tender currencies, but you will have to use legal tender currencies to purchase those cryptocurrencies, the most popular of which is Bitcoin. You need to also understand that cryptocurrencies, they don't have an underlying value. So, for example, many people would then say that they are speculative because unlike a normal currency, that currency is backed up by either foreign reserves, the productive nature of the economy of the country that owns the currency, and various other elements. But that's not what happens with cryptocurrencies. But again, we live in a world of innovation. And cryptocurrencies bypass central banks pretty much. And many countries, especially in Nigeria, which is one of the highest users of cryptocurrency in the world. Nigeria is the second biggest user of Bitcoin, Nigerians, in the world. And during the NSAS protests, these cryptocurrencies were used to support the NSAS protests when the central bank blocked the access to the accounts of people it suspected were supporting NSAS. So there is the financial stability aspect, there's the political aspect, there's the economic or private economic investment aspect of it, and there's the aspect of the business opportunities and the income it earns for a lot of Nigerians, mainly young Nigerians who trade in these instruments. So it's a very complex issue. So that's the first thing that I will tell you. So the central bank directive, you could say, well, it's legal, yes, but was it the wisest way to approach either the risks of cryptocurrencies or any other consideration that it might have had? I am not sure about that. And that's why I was worried about this response from the central bank.
So let's quickly get some myths, let's get the facts out, the truth of this matter, some of which you've given us, the knowledge of what it's all about. From the word crypt, it means that something that is coded, secret. So that is the orientation of that market. And you talked about SEC and the central bank. Central bank has powers over Nigeria currency and Nigeria banks. But let's get some quick facts out now. You are a lawyer too, and so it helps us tonight on the program. Unbundle this for us. Has the order and directive of the central bank criminalized cryptocurrency?
I do not interpret it as criminalizing cryptocurrency. I interpret it as a directive to financial institutions under the control or under the supervisory remit of the central bank not to deal with these cryptocurrencies. Now, there are other ways, and the directive is targeted at exchanges of cryptocurrency because there are exchanges where these cryptocurrencies are exchanged. So this is what the central bank directive mainly targeted. I do not think it criminalizes individuals transacting in exchange based on cryptocurrencies in any other way. Although, of course, it becomes more difficult for individuals to transact in cryptocurrencies if the exchanges where they can get them are sort of made suspect by the central bank and certainly illegal from the central bank's point of view. So it's a bit of a gray area. I don't think it criminalizes cryptocurrencies per se, but the central bank has said it's not legal tender, but they don't have to tell you and me what we can exchange for value. If I want to give you my shirt and you give me your shoe, the central bank has no business with it. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, you know, that's what I would say to that. It makes it difficult, but it does not per se criminalize cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so it's good that we get clarity on that because anybody who trade in cryptocurrency within that sphere, if it's criminalized, then the person is no less than the Yahoo, because then the person becomes a criminal because it then falls on the issue of fraud because it's not legal in the country. Nigeria is not the only country where you have it illegal as not a legal tender. The United States allows it. Canada, in one way or the other, legalized and did not. In some parts of Central Europe, there are some countries that do not allow it as a legal tender.
Yes.
But let's look at it from your background, yes. Prof. I mean, yes. You had worked in the central bank, and perhaps it might be on the surface to look at whether good or bad this decision or directive is. But give us a sense yes. of it. If you were in the central bank, would you have told this line, is this the best way to have handled this matter?
My answer, to be very straightforward, is no. Let me give you a little bit of a background. I was deputy governor in charge of financial system stability. That is to say, I was the head of the directorate of the central bank that controls the financial system. So I was the banking regulator. If I was in the central bank today in that role, it is one of the departments under me that would have issued this directive that we saw, which came from the Banking Supervision Department. In that position, I had responsibility for the management of a banking sector that was worth 17 trillion naira at that time. Yeah, included 24 commercial banks, about 900 microfinance banks, 100 finance houses, 5 development banks, and 3,000 bureau de change. So the financial system in Nigeria, over which I superintended as deputy governor when I was there, is very significant. And so I would have been aware or conscious of the risks of cryptocurrencies. But my response as somebody who is versed in risk management will be, one, there is a reality in the world today that a lot of the world is going digital. There's a lot of innovation in the world, and cryptocurrencies are part of it. So my attitude would be, how can we best manage the risks of cryptocurrencies to ensure that they do not affect the stability of the financial system? That's what I would have done. But I would not recommend, kind of banning it outright in exchanges, because also $500 million worth of Bitcoin has been traded in Nigeria within the last 5 years. Nigeria is one of the top 10 countries in the use of cryptocurrencies in the world today. In fact, it comes in at number 8 after countries like Ukraine, Russia, South Africa, Kenya, and so on. So it's becoming a real factor in our financial system or investment ecosystem. And this is livelihoods from Nigerians. So when you take actions that look as if you are taking away opportunities from Nigerians, especially in a depressed economy. Also, one of the things that attracts Nigerians a lot to cryptocurrencies is because the central bank, and I've said this, a lot of the policy making that has come out from the bank in recent years has been a bit, ad hoc and, changes from today to tomorrow and so on, policies concerning remittances, policies concerning foreign exchange, and so on and so forth. But trading in these cryptocurrencies, for many people, protects them from fluctuations in the value of the naira. Because every fiat money, every currency in the world, over time depreciates in value because of inflation. And this is one of the reasons a lot of people go for cryptocurrencies. They're risky, but they don't have the problem of depreciation because of inflation. In fact, between 2018 and today, in 2018, the value of one Bitcoin was about $3,000. Today, about 2.5 years later, it's $38,000 for one BTC, one Bitcoin. So this gives you a sense of what's going on. Now, does that mean that this is sustainable? No. One of the things that caused the financial crisis in 2008, in which we, again, in the central bank had to really, do some heavy lifting to save Nigeria from a crash of its financial system, was that there was a lot of trading in new financial instruments, which were very speculative. And after some time, the bubble burst. So this is why I told you that if I was still a central bank governor today, yes, I would be concerned about cryptocurrencies, but I would balance that concern with the reality, how pervasive they have become as part of economic transactions, and see best how we can manage the risks without depriving people
Prof,
of the livelihoods.
Yeah, apologies to cut into but if that risk, for example, is that of national security, would you have still held that same stance?
I do not support suppression of people who are peaceful demonstrators. They have human rights. So what do you call national security? Do you think national security means that Nigerians do not have rights to protest peacefully? So long as their protests are peaceful, that is guaranteed under the Constitution. So I would not, if I was a central banker, support, blocking people's accounts because they were involved in peaceful protests that were legal under the Constitution. If you call that, counter-terrorism financing and all that, I would like to see the central bank investigate and show us people who are sponsoring Boko Haram financially, and let us have them put on trial. That's the real threat to Nigeria, not peaceful protesters, young people from NSAS. So this is my own perspective on it.
All right. So let's look at it again. Some experts, because again, you talked about the risk in cryptocurrency. Some will say,
yes,
every investment has risk concerns or risk factors.
Absolutely.
For example, in just few hours, Bitcoin fell from 41K to 38.5, just about 5% drop in few hours.
Yes.
Some will say it's not a currency, it's a speculative asset. So if you take that and link it to what former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said in his statement over the weekend, and take a look at it again, he said this is a wrong time to introduce policies that will restrict the inflow of capital into Nigeria. Give us a sense of the implication. Is there anything such as wrong timing in the decision of the central bank?
It's not just wrong timing. I just think that in principle, given where the world is going today, I think that Nigeria should be ahead of the curve and managing whatever risks that these types of new financial instruments throw up, rather than being seen as being reactionary, especially when that has implications for the livelihoods of many, many, many Nigerians. That's my point. Now, if you own shares in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, it could drop 20% in a day. Is that not so? So what's so special about the drop in the value of Bitcoin? So this is the point. Any investment has risks. It can rise, it can fall. So long as those risks are hedged in such a manner that they do not affect the financial system and its stability, individuals can take those risks. That's their choice. That's the way I look at it. And of course, concerning the importation of capital, I think Nigeria also should not stop the importation of capital into the country at a time we are losing a lot of such capital. There's huge capital flight from Nigeria today. Foreign investors are not coming in. So all in all, my point is this. The Nigerian government needs to make the Nigerian investment climate far more friendly, far more predictable, far more efficient than is the case today. It's one of the reasons why our economy is undergoing a lot of stress.
All right. Perhaps that is a point where we'd like to anchor. And I'd like you to touch on this matter in just about 30 seconds so that we can anchor on this matter of the cryptocurrency, especially because of the outrage that we have seen about it in the last few days. So give us a sense of what you make of the climate, investment climate under the Buhari government vis-a-vis this policy that the CBN came out with. How would you describe the investment climate under the Buhari government and as it relates to an average citizen?
Well, the investment climate in Nigeria today is not very good. I think that's very obvious. And one of the reasons that is so is because, one, investment policies are not predictable. There is too much ad hocism in the management of the Nigerian economy. There is no deep thinking that is evident from Nigeria's economic policies today. It's just today, one policy, tomorrow, another policy, next tomorrow, another policy. Investors do not like that. And that's one of the reasons why it's not just COVID. The market, the investment environment in Nigeria is unfriendly. That's one of the reasons that foreign investment is declining hugely. In Nigeria. Now, let me just wrap up with something about this cryptocurrency. China, in 2014, they banned these cryptocurrencies. But today, their policy is a bit sophisticatedly different. Why? Let me explain. There are many countries in the world today that are now moving into the area of central banking digital currency, CBDC. These are sovereign digital currencies. So they are working on it now to see whether countries like this, like China and others that are experimenting with this, like Sweden, like Uruguay, and so on, can now have their own currencies as crypto or digital currencies that are linked to their fiat money, their normal money. So this can reduce the risks of cryptocurrencies. Nigeria should think imaginatively in areas like this, not just knee-jerk reactions all the time.
It's always a pleasure having to talk to you about issues of financial matters, legal issues, and of course, political matters sometimes. Professor Kingsley Moghalu, Special Envoy to the United Nations on COVID-19 financing to Africa, a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, presidential candidate into 2019 election. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight from Washington, D.C.